Kathy. Welcome to the Colorful Homeschooler Podcast, where we parlay on productivity, personality, passions, education, and theory. I'm a lover of Jesus, a wife of 20 years, and a homeschool mama of 4 special needs boys who keep me constantly active. I'm so glad you're here to join me. Pull up a chair, there's space for you at this table. Welcome back, friends. So we are at the end of another year. 2024 is coming to a close, and soon 2025 will be upon us, full of new possibilities and beautiful horizons we haven't yet peered over. Do you get excited for the new year? Is it just another day for you? I want to postulate to you that we as humans are wired to accept that flip of the calendar page as a blank slate. Psychologists call it the fresh start effect. A new article by Jody Wellman in Psychology Today states that the fresh start effect is the psychological boost we experience when temporal landmarks, such as the beginning of a new year, month, or week, help us mentally separate our past selves from our future potential. So I love this term, temporal landmark. Temporal for time, and landmark as in an event, discovery, or change, marking an important stage or turning point in something, such as our lives. I love it because I truly believe that we need those. If a year has been particularly difficult, it feels more definitive to be able to place that landmark in a space where it makes sense. To delineate one year from the next and have a firm belief that this next year can be different, fuller, better. And you know what? If it was a good year, a great one even, we don't want to stay there, but we want to continue to grow, take on novel challenges, become newer, even better versions of ourselves. So if you don't tend to make a big deal out of the new year, the ball dropping and turning to the fresh, unblemished landscape of a brand new moment in your timeline, may I gently encourage you to come along with me through these next 2 weeks' exercises. Just try it. See if it works for you this year. I will, of course, try to make it as practical as possible and as user-friendly as I possibly can. First, I wanted to share a New Year's poem with you by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Ring out wild bells. Ring out wild bells to the wild sky. The flying cloud, the frosty light, the year is dying in the night. Ring out wild bells and let him die. Ring out the old, ring in the new. Ring happy bells across the snow. The year is going, let him go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Ring out the grief that saps the mind. For those that here we see no more. Ring out the feud of rich and poor. Ring in redress to all mankind. Ring out a slowly dying cause and ancient forms of party strife. Ring in the nobler modes of life, with sweeter manners, purer laws. Ring out the want, the care, the sin, the faithless coldness of the times. Ring out, my mournful rhymes, but ring the fuller minstrel in. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good. Ring out old shapes of foul disease. Ring out the narrowing lust of gold. Ring out the 1,000 wars of old. Ring in the 1,000 years of peace. Ring in the valiant man and free, the larger heart, the kindlier hand. Ring out the darkness of the land. Ring in the Christ that is to be. Before looking ahead to ring in the valiant man and free, or the Christ that is to be, I do think it is important to look back, reflect, and release the old year before moving on to next year's blank slate. How can we grow without learning first? We all know the old adage from George Santayana. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. So here is our end-of-year journaling reflection. Right now, psychologists call this a liminal time, an in-between. The time between Christmas and New Year's is perfect for reflection. It's cozy and warm. We're coming off the thrill of the holiday and moving into the depth of winter on the other side of the new year. So stay with me in this liminal space and let's reflect. I will be doing this along with you during this weekend. Next week, I will share a short blueprint of my goal domains and how I come up with my goals for the year. Then I will share a bunch of my 2025 goals with you. Hopefully, they will be inspiring. Before we begin this journaling exercise, let's take a moment to quiet our minds and hearts. This is best done in a quiet space. Fill your senses, burn a candle, diffuse essential oils. The best essential oils for focus and clarity are lemon, lavender, frankincense, cypress, clary sage, and patchouli. Frankincense and lavender also help dispel anxiety and tension, and patchouli also enhances dopamine and serotonin in the brain, which are the hormones that stimulate excitement and feelings of happiness. Grab your favorite beverage and some soothing music. Try to make mental space for this. If necessary, mark down your to-do list so it is out of your brain and on paper. Make sure your children or other important tasks are taken care of for a while. Perfect time for a movie for the little ones. Pull out your journal or fresh, clean paper. This is not something to be done with scrap paper or on the bottom of an already used note page. The fresh start effect deserves an unmarked notepad. Grab your gel pens and your favorite colors. Be inspired by beauty. Now let's pray together. I certainly don't want to look back by myself. I am sure in all of our years, when we are trying to learn from them, we will see sometimes that we were not our best selves. How can we ask for redemption for those occasions without asking the Lord to come alongside us? Lord, please join with my friends and I as we seek to reflect upon our past year. Bring up those things that we really aced and help us to see your hand in them. Bring up those things where we truly failed and help us to see your redemption for them. Show us the areas where we learned the most and where we still need growth. Give us focus and clarity as we seek out your vision for 2025 by first looking back with you at 2024. We trust you above all things. In your holy name we pray. Amen. I like to start the reflection time with taking a deep breath. All of this is for contemplation, not to make us feel poorly, to make us experience guilt, shame, or regretful feelings. I remind myself of this at the outset and several times throughout. It's a breathe in, breathe out idea. Breathe in the learning, breathe out the negative emotions, if any are associated. The point of this podcast is to give you a grouping of questions to choose from. Glean them. Think of the grocery store analogy. You drive your cart down the aisles and choose what you want to bring home with you. Leave the rest. And just like the Word of the Year podcast, episode 6, I suggest actually writing out the questions. This can kickstart your creativity. Then, stream of consciousness writing the answers. Don't self-edit at this point. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about vocabulary. This isn't your next novel or article. This is your journaling journey. Without further ado, let's begin asking some of the questions that I use myself. I first like to travel down the generalized pathway prior to getting specific. Overall, what was my hardest challenge this year? Did I face something medical, financial, spiritual? A prodigal child, loss of a job, a painful relationship? Through this challenge, what was the number one thing I learned? Take some real time to reflect on this. Perhaps you learned several things from this experience, especially if it went on for several weeks, months, or the whole year. Write them all down. Revisit. Take that deep breath again. Pray and ask Jesus to help you hone in on what the most important thing is that you learned. Did you get it? I believe that you will. What was your greatest sacrifice this year? Within this sacrifice, was it appreciated? What qualities of you were present in this sacrifice? What qualities grew? Which were stymied during it? What was the hardest thing for you to accept, whether about this sacrifice or anything else? Let's turn to positive. What was your greatest win this year? How did you celebrate? Who celebrated with you? What, again, was the number one thing you learned from it? Stream of consciousness writing. These number one selections can be important when coming up with your goals for 2025. Spend some time on these. What was a time that you stepped out of your comfort zone? What did it feel like? What was the result? Were there any opportunities that you missed to step out of your comfort zone? How did you feel after that? Revisit these situations and write the story of what you wish would have happened. What could you have done differently to get the ending to be closer to this ideal story? What can you learn about yourself through this? What will you remember most about this year? What were your top 5 moments? Why? What did they tell about you? For example, in 2020, I ran a New Year's Day run. After the race, I sat down at a table with my immediate family to celebrate a very successful time finish for myself. Several friends and members of the local running community came over and stood or sat at my table, hugging, high-fiving me. Then it was my whole crew that won the timed awards for that race. It felt amazing. What does that say about me, that was one of my top 5 of the year? Fitness, friends, acceptance, congratulations and encouragement from others, where I was not the only one giving it to them, but there was such reciprocation giving it back to me. Being surrounded by those I care for without making it happen. They organically came to my family. I didn't call them over. I was so touched by that. But I honed in on what that says about me because that will help drive future goals and desires for growth. If I know the things that have consistently proven to be important to me, I can usually suss out my goal domains or growth goals in those areas. If you could travel back in time to the beginning of the year, what advice would you give to yourself? Would it have helped you to make any different decisions? Which month did you feel the best this year? Which month did you feel the worst? Why? What does that tell you about yourself? What can you learn from these answers? Was your mental health better this year or worse? Why? Which changes in your life did you adapt the best to? Which changes brought about the worst in yourself? Did you struggle with doubting yourself? How did you deal with that? Did you feel good about yourself? Do you see any positive changes in yourself? How did they come about? Have you been in therapy this year? What did you accomplish through therapy? Did your therapist aid you in accomplishing some of your goals? Is therapy working? And what does therapy working mean to you? Are you satisfied with your friend circle this year? Are they supporting you? Is it an even exchange of support? If not, is it due to a temporary issue? For example, a child or a spouse's medical issue, a broken relationship in their lives, or the death of a loved one? What was the nicest thing someone did for you this year? What was the nicest thing you did for someone else? What was your most fun memory this year? What did you have to do to bring it about? Would you do it all again if the fun level were different? Did you learn anything about yourself through this experience? By knowing what caused the most fun for you, what does that indicate for your future goals or goal domains? Financially, did you overspend on anything this year? Are you planning for the future with savings, 401k, college accounts? If not, why? Did you do a good job saving for something? Did you celebrate the small financial victories along the way, or focus only on the end goal and miss the minutia? This is a big one for me that I constantly need to look back upon and reflect and possibly set a goal for the new year, is celebrating those small victories and not just looking ahead. Because those small victories, I celebrate in many domains, but financially, it's always about the end result. And honestly, do we ever have enough? There is always something else that the house needs, or the car needs, or the kids need. So focus on those small victories. Where did the bulk of your finances go this year? Was it a good purchase? Has it forged good memories? Did you create a budget this year? Did you stick to it? Okay, for my previous goal setters, take a look at your goals from 2024. How did you do? What domains did you excel in? What was the most important goal that you succeeded in? Which did you lose steam in? Did your habits, daily, weekly, monthly, align with your goals? Is there a reason for the goals that you did not attain? Did you change focus, learn something about the goal that changed your mind? Or is it just taking longer than you originally anticipated? What does it teach you about yourself when you peruse these results? Why did you achieve some goals but not others? I had set a goal at the outset of 2024 to compete in a Spartan race. I investigated the race, trained for it for a period of time, and then realized the cost was more than I had anticipated because of travel costs, because of where we were at in our financial journey. And I wasn't in love with the idea of some of the obstacles. I was encouraging myself to face my fears on some of those obstacles, and I was training for them, but I still wasn't quite excited about it. I had also expected many of my family members to do it with me so that it would be a together experience, and they were backing out one by one, so that togetherness aspect was disappearing. So while that is still uncompleted on my goal list for this year, I switched my competitive fitness goal to something else that I thoroughly enjoyed and came with its own community, and I had amazing growth within that goal. That goal that I switched it to was called Squattober, and it's a fantastic Instagram challenge every day for the month of October, 5 days a week. And you do squats, you do bench presses, and I gained so much muscle strength and really felt satisfied at the end of it. So I'm pleased that I didn't try to make the Spartan goal work after I lost desire for it. So when you look at your goals, if there are ones that weren't completed, make sure you work your way through the questions I just named to see, is there a good reason it wasn't completed? Did you feel organized this year? Where did you plan and execute well? Were there areas where you could have done better? Is this divided by goal domains? Is there a discernible reason that you were more organized in one area? What do you see about yourself due to these answers? Is this surprising to you? Did your surroundings, your environment, enhance or detract from your productivity? Reflect on that. Can you make any minute changes to environment that will help with your productivity? Homeschooling, parenting, career. What were your best moments in each of these? Your worst? What are your best memories in each of these? Lowest moments? What are you most grateful for this year? Where do you see the Lord's hand most clearly now that you are on the other side of 2024? If your life had been woven into a tapestry and you are merely able to see the knotted cord on the ugly side, is there anywhere that you have a glimpse of the beautiful picture that the Lord is creating by redeeming the time? Write or draw this answer, because this is the encouraging time. Listeners, as you travel through this reflection exercise, again, breathe. Breathe in the questions, the learning, the answers. Breathe out any negative emotions. This is not a time for guilt or shame. This is a time to learn. We can separate the feelings of past setbacks and look ahead to a new year rich with possibilities. If we do the hard work of cerebration, we continue to grow. We buck against stagnation and continue to move forward. We've now done the reflecting on the past, the time to the left of our coming temporal landmark. Join me next week as we use this newly acquired insight to create our goal domains and our goals for 2025. I will share some of mine as well. Thank you to all of my listeners. Follow the show. New episodes every Tuesday. Please leave me 5 stars and a written review wherever you are listening to it. Spotify, Apple, Audible, Podcruncher. Share this with a friend. Let me know how you like it, and if there are any topics you want discussed, any questions you have for me. I've got some good ones coming up, including a winter nature study episode in the new year. Remember, everyone, I believe in you.